Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Today is June 27th. The first phase of the All-Star voting is done. More ugly fan behavior. Let's talk about it. Hello, everybody. My name is Steven. This is the middle of the order. How are we doing today? Ladies and gentlemen, we've got a good episode for you here today, but I do need to make it a lot shorter than usual. So let's just jump right into things here and get going with our series recap. Leading us off, the Rangers are in Baltimore to take on the O's. Jackson Holliday, a 3-run home run, his 9th of the year, helps the Oilers to a 6-0 lead. In Game 2, 7 no-hit innings from DeGrom erased, but back-to-back home runs. Gary Sanchez, Ramon Urias to tie, Ryan O'Hearn to take the lead, but it did not matter. Texas tied it back up. They scored one in the 10th. They win this one 6-5. And in Game 3, it's Josh Young, it's Jonah Heim, both going deep. 7-0 Rangers as they take 2 of 3. Rays and Royals, Danny Jansen hits his 8th of the year for a 5-1 Rays win. They come back with a 3-0 win. And then in Game 3, it's Brandon Lau, it's Junior Caminero, 4-0 Rays as Tampa Bay sweeps the Royals. Blue Jays and Guardians, George Springer hits a grand slam in the 8th. That's the difference in this one. 10-6 Blue Jays. Vlad and Ramirez both getting hit by pitches, both having to leave the game as tensions are high. That's actually in the 3rd game. Jose Ramirez would walk off this game with a single in extras. Vlad and Lane Thomas both homered in this game. In Game 3, that's the game where Vladdy and Ramirez both get hit by pitches, both have to leave early. Alejandro Kirk, a 3-run single with an error, helps cap off a 6-0 Jays victory, taking 2 of 3 from Cleveland. D-backs and White Sox, Pavin Smith, a 2-homer game. Marte, a home run, 10-0 D-backs. They followed up with a 4-1 win, another Ketel Marte home run, but in that final game, Andrew Benintendi goes deep. Lenyon Sosa, a 2-homer game, 7-3 White Sox. The final, the D-backs taking 2 of 3 from Chicago there. A's and Tigers, Kerry Carpenter and Dylan Dinkler both go deep. It's a 5-run 3rd inning for the Tigers as they win it and become the first team to 50 wins this season, 11 for Detroit. Nick Kurtz, a 3-run home run. It's the only run scored in this one. It's his 3-run home run. Makes it a 3-0 A's win, but the Tigers come back to shut the door. Torkelson and Glaber go deep. 8-0 Tigers as they take 2 of 3 from the A's. Mariners and Twins now. Julio, Luke Raley, Dominic Canzone, and Cal Raleigh. Big Dumper, of course, hits his 32nd of the year. 4 Mariner bombs, 11-2 Seattle. They were up 5-0 in Game 2. The Twins crawled back from down 5 to tie it back up, but it doesn't matter. The Mariners still win this one 6-5 with a sac fly in the 9th. They get the first 2 games of the series, but the Twins get the next 2 games. Cody Clemens, his home run helps the Twins to a 2-0 win. And then it's the Twins who go deep. Trevor Larnach, Brooks Lee, and Matt Wallner, those 3 home runs help a 10-1 Minnesota win as they split the 4-game series between the Mariners and the Twins. Red Sox and Angels, Zach Neto hits a leadoff home run to start this series off, and that also started a 5-run inning for the Angels as they take a 9-5 victory. In Game 2, Christian Moore, the rookie, a 2-homer game, his 2nd and 3rd career home runs. His first of this one was the game-tying home run in the 8th. His second, how about a 2-run walk-off bomb? What a moment for Christian Moore as he makes MLB history. 3-2 Angels. They come back. Joe Adell, Travis d'Arnaud both going deep. 5-2 Halos as the Angels sweep the Red Sox. How about that? Phillies and Astros. Cooper Humlin hits his solo shot for the only run in this game. 1-0 Astros the final. Victor Caratini goes deep in the 2nd game. 2-0 Astros the final. Cam Smith a go-ahead RBI single in the 8th in that 3rd and final game as the Astros win it 2-1. They sweep the Phillies doing the Mets a bit of a favor. Speaking of the Mets, the Braves are in New York to take on the Mets. Acuna goes deep, Soto goes deep. The Braves take a 3-2 victory in Game 1. That's followed by Game 2's win, 7-4 Atlanta. They scored 5 runs in the 6th to help them out. But the Mets get their get-back. Soto, a 2-homer game. Ronnie Mauricio also going deep in a 7-3 Mets victory. And they finish it out with a 4-0 win as the Mets and Braves split the 4-game set 2 apiece. Pirates and Brewers now. Tommy Pham getting his first home run of the year, first as a Bucco. 5-4 Pirates in that one. Brewers come back though. Joey Ortiz, a 2-homer game. Caleb Durbin going deep as well. 9-3 Brewers to even up the series. And then it's the game of the week. We'll talk about this one. Skeens and Mizorowski. And it's the Miz that outduels Skeens as he gives it 4 or more runs in a start for the 3rd time in his career. And it's the first time he gives up 4 runs in an inning as the Brewers win it 4-2 and take 2 of 3 from the Pirates. Cubs and Cardinals now, they meet for the first time this year. The Cardinals were home run early in this series. Nootbaar, Donovan, Burleson, Gorman, the 4 of them all go deep in Game 1 to an 8-2 Cardinals win. Nootbaar would go deep again. Gorman goes deep again. This time Mason Wynn joins the party. And how about Nico Horner from the Cubs getting his first home run of the year? Cardinals would take this one though 8-7, but here come the Cubs back. Ian Happ, Reese McGuire, Kyle Tucker all go deep in an 8-0 Cubs victory. And then Michael Busch goes deep in the 3rd game as the Cubs win 3-0. They shut out the Cardinals in back-to-back games, take them to even up the series. Another 2-game split each. Cubs and Cardinals split in that. Yankees and Reds now, and it's the Reds with Gavin Lux and Ellie De La Cruz both going deep. The Reds take a 6-1 victory in Game 2. Welcome to the big leagues. Chase Burns making his Major League debut. 5 innings, 3 earned runs, and 8 strikeouts. Started off strong, struck at the side in the first, but he cooled off, gave up some runs. Thankfully, though, Christian Encarnacion-Strand hit a 3-run double to tie the game up. This one went into extras, and in the 11th, Gavin Lux hits the walk-off single. The Reds win 5-4, looking for the sweep, but cannot find it. Jazz goes deep, and the Yankees win 7-1 to avoid the sweep against the Reds. Dodgers and Rockies now. Conforto and Ohtani both go deep in Colorado. 9-7 Dodgers to open up the series. Another Conforto bomb in Game 2. Max Muncy with a grand slam as the Dodgers become the 2nd team to 50 wins, following the Tigers' footsteps. 8-1 Dodgers in that one. And then in the 3rd and final game, Ohtani would go deep once again, his 28th of the year, 2nd of the series. 3-1 Dodgers, as of course the Dodgers are sweeping the Rockies. Marlins and Giants. The Marlins open up this series with a 4-2 victory. Then in Game 2, the Giants were able to tie it in the 9th with 2 runs to come back, but it did not matter. The Marlins dropped a 4 spot in the 10th, leading them to an 8-5 victory. They would look for the sweep, and they would get it, as Kyle Stowers and Augustine Ramirez would both go deep, and then the Marlins would drop 7 unanswered late to make sure they get a hold on this series. 12-5 the final. Miami comes to San Francisco and sweeps the Giants. How about that? We rounded off with the Nationals and Padres a few years ago. The Padres traded James Wood and CJ Abrams for Juan Soto. And well, they attacked. Wood and Abrams combined 6 for 10 RBIs, 6 runs. Wood with a home run, Josh Bell with a home run. The Nationals a 10-6 victory. But the Padres get their get-backs. Maldonado, the home run hitter, of course, hits his 4th of the year. 4-3 Padres to even up the series. And then the only run in the last game was a Luis Arias RBI single in the 2nd. The Padres win it 1-0, taking 2 of 3 from the Nationals. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is your series recap. Whew, boy. All right, let's get going here again. Quicker episode than usual. Let's head to the game of the week. And it may have not been the best game in terms of run production and offense and blah, blah, blah. but it was Jacob Misiorowski, Paul Skeens. Everybody wanted to see it, and yes, I mean everybody. It was 42,774 fans, a sellout afternoon crowd in Milwaukee, the most attended game this season. People came for this matchup, and it was a decent one. The Brewers were able to strike in the second. Joey Ortiz grounds out. They had the bases loaded, nobody out. He grounds out, that scores a run. Then Eric Haas, an RBI double. Sal Frelick on a fielder's choice scored a run. And then Yelich, an RBI single. 4 runs in the inning. The first time in Paul Skeens' career that he allowed 4 earned runs in an inning. This was the third game where he allowed more than 4 runs, earned runs in the game, which was just crazy. Meanwhile, Jacob Misiorowski was lights out, 5 innings, 8 Ks, only 2 hits. He was definitely the better pitcher in the first time these pitchers met. And something tells me it will not be the last time. I think these two will be going head-to-head for a while. Pirates did get a couple runs late. Tommy Pham, an RBI single in the 7th. Spencer Horwitz, an RBI double in the 8th. Brewers win it 4-2. Misiorowski beating Skeens in a sellout afternoon crowd. That is your game of the week. So let's get into the news here. Again, we got to go. Let's talk about the All-Star voting here for Phase 1, as that has come to a conclusion. If you're not aware, we're now down to just the top 2 or 6 in terms of outfielders. And of course, the number 1 vote getters automatically get their spot. Same as last year, Ohtani is your number 1 vote getter in the NL. He had just under 4 million votes. He had 3.9 million votes. So he will be the NL DH starter for the National League. And on the AL side, it of course was Aaron Judge, who was the most vote getter all around. He had 4 million votes, just over 4 million votes. So he will take up one of the outfielder spots in the AL. And now it gets down to voting once again next week, only for Phase 2, between the top 2 vote getters for each position, or top 6 in outfielders' case, which we'll go over that really quickly here. So for the AL, Cal Raleigh had 3 million votes. He goes up against Alejandro Kirk, who had 1.2 million. Cal Raleigh will most likely be the All-Star starter. For catcher, for first baseman, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. had just over 2 million, while Paul Goldschmidt had about 1.6. So they will go head-to-head. It will favor Vladdy. Second baseman, Gleyber Torres had a 1.9, while Jackson Holliday had 1.3. So favoring Gleyber here. But again, the votes reset. So, you got, I think it's 3 to 5 days to vote for these players. So keep that in mind here. For third baseman, Alex Bregman had just under 1 million in second place, while Jose Ramirez had 2.7. It is very clearly will be Jose Ramirez who is the all-star starter for the AL. And then for shortstop, this is a close one. Jacob Wilson had 1.8 to Bobby Witt Jr., who had 1.3. I think it should be Jacob Wilson. We will see how the rest of people will vote. And for designated hitter, with no Rafael Devers, Ryan O'Hearn became the ultimate vote getter, 1.7 for him. Ben Rice, 600K. He was one of the lowest vote getters among all of the top, players to go into Phase 2 here. So Rice will have to, battle hard here against O'Hearn. And then for the outfielders, because Judge is a top vote getter and automatically gets his spot, instead of having 6 guys, you picking 3, you have 5 guys or 4 guys, and you're picking 2. So in second place was Riley Green. He had 2.3 mil. Javi Baez, another Tigers player, 1.5 mil for him. Mike Trout, 1.3, and then Steven Kwan, 1.2, with Bellinger just missing out. So you'll pick 2 between them. I think Green and Baez are great choices. Green and Trout, maybe. I definitely think Green is one of them for sure. He's had a great year. And that's all of your AL, Phase 2 vote getters here. On the NL side, Will Smith had 3.4 to Carson Kelly's 1.1, so most likely will be Will Smith. Freddie Freeman and Pete Alonso, both very high vote getters. Freeman had 3.3 or 3.4, Alonso 2.1, so Freeman is favored there. For second baseman, Ketel Marte had 2.5 to Tommy Edmonds 1.8. So Ketel Marte favored for second base there. Manny Machado 2.5 mil to Max Muncy's 1.6. So looks like it will be Machado there. Shortstop, this is the closest one we have. Francisco Lindor, 2.3 mil. Mookie Betts, 2.1 mil. So they're about 200K off from each other. That will be interesting to see who will get the start there. Of course, Ohtani is a designated hitter. He got just under the 4 mil. So unfortunately for Devers, who switched over leagues, he had 1.3, but it wouldn't matter either way. And then for the outfielders, the top vote getter was Pete Crow Armstrong, who's at 3 million votes. Teoscar Hernandez, 2.3. Ronald Acuna Jr. in a short sample size, he's been fantastic, 1.9. Kyle Tucker's 1.8. Andy Pages, 1.8. Juan Soto, 1.5. And Carroll just missing out by 100K in the top 6 there. So Armstrong, Hernandez, Acuna, Tucker, Pages, and Soto vote for 3 of those 6. I would be going for Pete Crow, Teoscar, and Kyle Tucker. And those are the All-Star voting. So again, on Monday, you can now vote for Phase 2 between the 2 starters for each position. Would you rather have voter A, voter B, etc.? We'll go from there. Moving on now, we got to talk about this Ketel Marte situation. Fans are just getting... Some fans, man, I cannot stress this enough. During one of the games between the Diamondbacks and the White Sox, Torey Lovullo, Geraldo Perdomo had to comfort Ketel Marte. Turned out a fan was yelling something horrible about Marte's mother, who unfortunately had passed away in a car accident back in 2017. Obviously, Marte was struck. So many videos have come out about this. We've seen Torey Lovullo mouthing off the fan. We've seen the fan in general. When in a certain video, we saw him get kicked out. So there's things like that. The next day, it was announced that the White Sox have banned the fan from taunting Ketel Marte, which, is great. We'd love to see that. We don't want to see those kinds of fans at the game because you're awful people and you should go screw yourself. And then very quickly, the league commended the White Sox actions, and the fan has now been banned not only from the White Sox, but also all ballparks indefinitely. So that was the last game he will ever watch in person. Good for MLB, good for baseball to be handling fans like this. You're a fan, you want to taunt a player, by all means. There are certain things that are it's fun, it's joshing around, it's part of sports. But you don't go after their families. You don't go after any mental illnesses. It's that kind of shit that needs to get out of the game. And if you're a fan who likes to mouth off like that and, poke at a player's, cancer treatments or whatever the hell we've been going through this year specifically, like we've seen so many fans be aggressive and just awful attitudes toward the players in our game, a game that I love so much. This is disgusting. I'm more than happy to say that fan will never be in any ballpark ever again. And I think other fans should kind of make note of this, that, hey, if it gets this far, yeah, I'm done. So you know what? If you like baseball, just like baseball. Go watch a game, have some fun, and just, don't be a dick. It's simple as that. The White Sox put a little baseball as family on their Jumbotron the next game. They're saying that they stand with Marte, and obviously all the baseball community feels the same way. Just don't be that guy. Don't ruin it. Come on. It's just awful. So, good riddance, and that's enough of that. Last thing to talk about here is that Yeimer Candelario was DFA'd by the Reds. Now, this is a very interesting decision from the Cincinnati Reds. Of course, one of those teams that, are a dark horse if they can get things right. If you're not sure of who Yeimer Candelario is, he's a third baseman. Most of his time was spent in Detroit, but did have, a solid year in 2021. He had 16 home runs. He had a 795 OPS. It was a pretty solid year coming off of another pretty decent year during COVID, which is kind of his breakout year. From there, his 2022 wasn't that great. He struggled a little bit more. A 633 OPS wasn't that solid. So he ended up getting a 1-year deal with Washington. And surely enough, Candelario popped off. He had 16 home runs with the Nationals in the first half of the season. An 823 OPS was fantastic. So much so that he got onto a contending team. They got traded to the Cubs, where from there, his numbers decreased on the season as a whole. Only picked up 6 more home runs, still finishing with a career high 22 home runs, career best 807 OPS. Just an outstanding year, which netted him a nice contract with the Reds, 3 years, $45 million. They front-loaded the deal, so he paid $18 million last year. He's getting paid $15 million this year, and then $12 million next year. And there was a club option for 2027 with a $3 million buyout. Because the Reds are DFA'ing him, they still owe him that money on that contract, and that's about $23 million in total, with the rest of the money this year, which is about $8 million, plus the $12 million next year, and then the $3 million buyout in 2027. So they're basically be paying this guy $23 million to just cut him loose. And that's a big decision from an organization. Of course, Candelario definitely struggling with the Reds since, signed that contract last year. Had a negative 0.7 WAR. Did hit 20 home runs, but he wasn't getting on base much. A 225 batting average, a 707 OPS. So besides a couple of home runs, he wasn't really that, offensively talented there. Had 114 strikeouts and just wasn't his best self. This year, despite dealing with some injuries, he's played 22 games. He has 9 hits. 2 home runs. He still has some pop, but he's a 113 batting average, a 410 OPS, and honestly is a liability on that Reds team when they have so much young talent trying to emerge here. So the Reds cut him loose. He's DFA'd. That money, that $23 million, they're still going to have to pay that. It's going to be a tough pill for them to swallow. Luckily, they have some young talent, so they don't have to worry about money too much, but there are steps that need to be taken place. I'm assuming once the DFA is finished, he will elect free agency, and I wouldn't be surprised if a team takes him up, on like a $5 million deal, whatever. Again, he has that power still. We've seen the power. It's more about the consistency that's lacking for Candelario. Impressive decision by the Reds. I'm not going to knock it because obviously when you're playing that badly, I would pay $23 million to get rid of him too, but it's definitely a tough decision and one that's going to, leave a pit in their stomach for a little bit here as they have to get through that, but condemn the efforts, and hopefully it kind of works out for the Reds. Hopefully they can be that dark horse playoff team when we get to the trade deadline and the rest of the season. So here's to hoping. Moving on here now, let's get through the rest of the episode. Again, like I said, shorter episode than usual. Some more things that happened this week I will be talking about on Monday. The Wander Franco situation with Merrifield, etc. So stay tuned for Monday's episode. That's where I'll hit up more things here. But just going over injury updates. Keibert Ruiz from the Nationals, 10-day IL with a head contusion. Jordan Walker on a 10-day IL with appendicitis. And then Corbin Carroll, that's a big one for me, the D-backs, and just my fantasy team in general. 10-day IL for him, a fractured left wrist. So hopefully Carroll and the rest of these guys can get healthy and help back out in the near future. Moving on, we have our outstanding performances from the week here. Trevor Rogers, 8 innings pitched, 3 hits, no earned runs, no walks, and 4 Ks. Eduardo Rodriguez, 6 innings pitched, 5 hits, no earned runs, 2 walks, and 10 Ks. Ryan Nelson, 5 innings pitched, a hit, an earned run, 3 walks, and 7 Ks. Garrett Crochet, 7 innings, 3 hits, no earned runs, 3 walks, 10 Ks. Jacob Mizorowski, 5 innings, 2 hits, no earned runs, 2 walks, and 8 Ks. Yusei Kikuchi, 7 innings pitched, 3 hits, 2 earned runs, a walk, and 12 Ks. Jacob deGrom, 7 innings pitched, a hit, no earned runs, 2 walks, and 7 Ks. Jacob Lopez, 7 innings pitched, 3 hits, no earned runs, a walk, and 6 Ks. Joe Ryan, 6 innings pitched, 3 hits, no earned runs, no walks, and 8 Ks. Max Fried, 7 innings pitched, 4 hits, no earned runs, a walk, and 7 Ks. Kevin Gausman, 8 innings, 2 hits, no earned runs, a walk, and 6 Ks. Christopher Sanchez, 6 innings, 5 hits, an earned run, no walks, and 11 Ks. Hunter Brown, 7 innings pitched, 3 hits, no earned runs, no walks, and 9 Ks. Shane Baz, 8 innings, 3 hits, no earned runs, a walk, and 9 Ks. And lastly, Clayton Kershaw, 6 innings, 2 hits, an earned run, a walk, and 5 Ks. He currently sits at 2,997 strikeouts. He is 3 strikeouts away from 3,000 Ks, and I believe his next start will be July 2nd against the White Sox in Dodger Stadium, so that certainly should be an exciting game with a sellout crowd in LA, so looking forward to that. Moving on here, our stat leaderboard, a lot of things unchanged. Average is still Judge, 361. He still leads in hits at 108. He now is standing alone in that. Cal Raleigh in home runs at 32, now leads in RBIs as well with 69. Ohtani still leading in runs with 80. Soto still leading in walks with 67. Caballero still leading in stolen bases with 29. Of course, Judge in OPS 1.180, so pretty much unchanged there. For wins is no longer Max Fried and Carlos Rodon. It is just Max Fried with his 10th win on the season. ERA, it was short-lived for Paul Skeens. On the top is now Hunter Brown from the Astros, 1.74. Garrett Crochet still leads in Ks now with 135, and Robert Suarez and Carlos Estevez was tied with 21. They're now tied with 22, each of them getting a save this week. And moving forward from there, we have our upcoming series for the weekend. Get your popcorn out. A's and Yankees, Blue Jays at Red Sox, Rays at Oilers, Dodgers at Royals, Giants at White Sox, Cardinals at Guardians, Twins at Tigers, Cubs at Astros, Mariners at Rangers, Nationals at Angels, Phillies at Braves, that's a big one, Mets at Pirates, Rockies at Brewers, Padres at Reds, and Marlins at D-backs. So some good baseball action coming your way as we hit up now our playoff predictor. If the season ended today, the Mariners in the 6th seed taking on the Yankees in the 3 seed, Blue Jays in the 5 seed taking on the Rays in the 4 seed. Mariners beat the Yankees, Rays beat the Blue Jays. ALDS matchups, Mariners at Astros, Rays at Tigers. The Tigers beat the Rays, Astros beat the Mariners. ALCS, Astros at Tigers, with the Astros beating Detroit. Some revenge there. On the NL side, Padres at Mets. Padres in the 6th seed, Mets in the 3 seed. Brewers in the 5 seed. The first time the Brewers are in a playoff spot all season long. How about that? 4 seed for the Phillies. The Padres upset the Mets. The Phillies beat the Brewers. So our NLCS matchup, Padres at Cubs. Phillies at Dodgers. The Padres beat the Cubs. Dodgers beat the Phillies. So what do you know? Our NLCS matchup, Padres and Dodgers. The Dodgers beating the Padres. They head to the World Series against the Astros. Astros at Dodgers, 2017 World Series rematch. And this time it goes the other way. The Dodgers would be your 2025 World Series champion if the season ended today. Ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for our episode here today. A lot shorter than usual. Apologies for that. Been very busy. Got some exciting stuff coming up for me. We're almost taking a little break from the podcast coming up, so it is going to be an interesting couple of episodes here and a little bit of a break. But I'll get into all of that and more on the Monday episode. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you, everybody, so much, and I will see you on Monday.